Hello, Carla. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're doing well. Excellent. Great to hear. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. We'll get started here in just a moment. Hope everyone is doing well wherever you are today, this evening, this morning, this afternoon, whatever time it is for you. We do have spirit beings that tune in from all over the world, from Africa, from Australia, from Austria, um, from the US, from Southeast Asia, from Europe. We do have beings that tune in from all over. So, again, wherever you are, wherever your journey has you at this time, I hope you are safe. I hope you are well. I do have some spiritual downloads to share. And as the title of the live states, we are going to be speaking for a time about uh, blind ignorance and blatant ignorance. Blind ignorance and blatant ignorance. Okay. Divine Source, thank you so much for the ability to do, the gifts, the talents to do what I do. I do not take the journey lightly, and I do not take my spiritual responsibilities lightly in my journey, Divine Source, because I am doing the will of you who has sent me. I expect and I trust in your protection over the content of this channel, removing any blockages of frequencies. Those who are meant to tune in will tune in, remove and block all frequency blockages on their electronic devices, on my electronic devices, that these electronic devices that are here, and open up the airways of communication energetically between me, between them, between you, between the ancestors of the collective, of myself, the Sanhedrin Council, uh, the Spirit of Light, the Council of Light, the Galactic Federation, and all other dimensions and high vibrational portals, and the primordial energetic deities. Thank you so much, Divine, again, for the ability, energy, and strength to do what it is that I do, and I thank you for the protection that you have provided for me. All right. Hello, Jen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay. From West Virginia. Feel free to let me know where you're tuning in from. We have West Virginia here. So West Virginia, you could live in the state of Virginia, south of West Virginia, and you could live on the west side of that state, okay? Or Virginia could live in the west, okay? Virginia, the name Virginia, could live in the west, okay? Something about the West Side Connection. That is a music group, including Ice Cube, the West Side Connection. The West Side Connection, okay? So, we are going to talk about for a minute greetings. Greetings. By the way, Jen, it's good to see you 2 lives in a row. I think that's rare, unless you sit in the background most of the time. I think that's rare for you to be here 2 lives in a row. So, something about 2 lives in a row, 2 lives in a row, twin energy, 2 lives, 2 lives in a row, back to back, okay, seconds apart, Gemini energy, okay. And again, divine source, I thank you for removing any blockages uh, on this channel of any sort, back to back, okay, back to back, all right. Something could be something about back to back, okay. I think about sports, back to back, repeat champions, back to back, back to back. I believe the Los Angeles Lakers were the last NBA team to go back to back. 09, 2010, 2009, 2010, Los Angeles Lakers back to back. Prior to that, it was again, I don't know if it was the Los Angeles Lakers prior to 2009, 2010. I don't know with their three-peat, okay? Starring Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant. Any of those names could be significant for your journey, okay? Could be Shakir, okay? All right. So, thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to be speaking about, to start, we're going to be talking about blatant ignorance and blind ignorance. So, what is the difference between blatant ignorance and blind ignorance? I was thinking about this morning when I woke up, and I had a Reiki healing session scheduled, uh, and perhaps that individual who scheduled that with me, they got sidetracked. They did let me know everything that I speak here is significant. Okay. So, and I don't say that for my own pride and ego's sake. I say that because I know divine source speaks through me and uses me in every way possible. So, there's something about paying attention to everything. Paying attention to everything, not just the big things, okay? They say don't sweat the little things. You don't have to sweat them, but you should pay attention to them. The little things. You don't have to sweat them, but you should pay attention to the little things, okay? Those little things, okay? You stub your toe in the morning, evening, afternoon, whatever, you spill your coffee, okay? Pay attention to all of those things, all of those things, okay? Um, and I had a Reiki healing session scheduled for 8 a.m. my time. It is currently 8:30 here in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. It is currently 8:30 in the morning on Saturday, 8:30 in the morning on Saturday here in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Could be something about August 30th, August 30th. Hello, sweet Gail. Thank you so much for tuning in. Glad you called us early this time. All right. So, and pay attention to don't cry or complain when you have to adjust. Okay. Don't cry or complain when you have to adjust. So that Reiki healing session that was supposed to be taking place now, I still haven't heard from them. I did send them 2 emails to check in on them to see if things were okay and to let them know that we can reschedule that meeting. Uh, but yeah, I had a Reiki healing session scheduled for someone, and or with someone, not for someone. But they did mention that they had one of their sons had a procedure today, so they could have gotten tied up at the medical office, or what have you. Okay, and again for her, I hope all is well with her today, um, and with her son, who's having that procedure done. All right. So again, any of that could be significant. Someone you know having a procedure done, having a procedure done in the near future, had one done recently in the last 72 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, a procedure, a medical procedure. Okay. And uh, so, yeah. Okay. So paying attention to all of the little things, not just the big things, but the little things. All right. And so blind ignorance. Blind ignorance. So let's talk about blind ignorance for a moment. So I mentioned yesterday um, on the live that I was homeless 3 times. I've been homeless 3 times, and 2 of those times was while I was on dialysis. And because of blind ignorance, okay, the money that I was giving to this religious organization that I was sent to be a light and be a demonstration for, and I was, okay? I did not shy away from my duties. I did walk away for about 18 months at the beginning. I did walk away for about 18 months. There could be something significant for you about 18 months. 18 months from now, 18 months ago, okay? I'm also speaking about, I mentioned to Jen that this is the first time that I'm seeing, okay, that she has been here in back to back lives. So back to back speaks of twin energy. Back to back, you have twins, rapid succession. So back to back, all right, and um, and so in this uh, in this journey, I was in blind ignorance because I was in the mindset of, or in the belief system of, you need to give 10% of everything that you have financially, whatever you get. You get $2, you need to give 20 cents. You get $200, you need to give $40, or excuse me, $20, okay, of whatever you have, okay? And so I could have used that money, financially speaking, I could have used that money to put gas in the car and that I was sleeping in during those times when I was homeless, when I didn't have gas. You know, there were times when the car barely had gas to get to service on Sunday morning. You know, I was rolling in there and the light was on E. You know what I mean? The gas needle was on E, but I was faithful. Blind ignorance. So, divine source blesses your blind ignorance. So, you could be thinking back about times when you made decisions that blindly were not for your highest good. You trusted this one, you trusted that one, you invested in this, you invested in that. You believed in the religious lies that you were told. It could be in regards to tithing financially, or it's in regards to giving in some sort of other way. Okay? So forgive yourself for those blind, ignorant moments. Forgive yourself for those blind, ignorant moments. Okay? Okay, we have someone in from Germany. I mentioned we have divine beings that tune in from all over the world. So we have West Virginia, we have Germany. Okay? And so yeah, forgive yourself for those blind, ignorant moments. Okay, because again, I could have used that money financially to feed myself physically and to take care of my physical body. I could have used those things. All right. Mm. So someone says they were in Virginia last year. Okay. There could be something about Cologne. They're in Cologne, Germany. All right. And I was in Bad Kreuznach, Germany, for 2 years when I was a part of First Armored Division in the United States Army. I was in Bad Kreuznach, Germany, from 1998 to 2000. I was in Bad Kreuznach, Germany. Yeah, just like that, just like they spelled it. Okay, I was there for 2 years, and so yeah, near Stuttgart. That is correct. Okay, and so you're bringing back some flashbacks there. You're bringing back some nostalgic times. You're bringing back some nostalgic times mentioning Stuttgart, and um, and so yeah. All right. So what's the difference? You being led or lied to, okay, misled, misinformation. You believed that Christopher Columbus discovered America as a child. If you are in America and you went through the American education system, you were taught, if you're old enough, to believe that Christopher Columbus discovered America. And then you wrote that answer on a test, and the teacher marked it correct. Okay? But today you know and understand that Christopher Columbus did not discover shit. Okay? You now understand that Christopher Columbus never walked on the continental United States. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. You now know that there were indigenous beings on that land before Christopher Columbus got there. So Christopher Columbus did not discover anything. So blind ignorance. Um, and so yeah, have grace and mercy and for yourself in those times when you believed something that you were taught, something that you were told through the education system or through religion or by a parent. Okay, standing too close to the TV, you'll go blind. Parent told you that, then you got older, wiser, and realized that standing too close to the TV will never make someone go blind. You got wiser. So you don't tell your children that. Someone says they were in America and it's expensive. Yeah. All right. And so, what is blatant ignorance? Okay. So, what is blatant ignorance? Blatant ignorance is something about the West Indies. Okay. All right. And so blatant ignorance is knowing the truth but ignoring it and continuing to live the lie and speak the lie and propagate the lie. So, the government knowing about extraterrestrial beings, but yet they have not come forward with this, yet they have not come forward and told you the truth about this. The government and their MK Ultra programs, their brainwashing programs using LSD, Operation LAC, which dealt with biochemical weapons warfare, in which the United States government sprayed biochemical weapon agents throughout North Central United States and Canada, and hiding this for decades. These types of things, blatant ignorance, blatant ignorance. Okay, ICE agents unlawfully murdering U.S. citizens when their goal is, on paper, to seek out and remove criminal immigrants in the United States. ICE murdering innocent, non-threatening U.S. citizens, which is the exact opposite of what they should be doing. On paper, they state that they are here, or the organization's focus is on illegal criminal activity done by immigrants. But in truth, they have a license to murder and kill anyone and get away with it. President Trump allows them to get away with it. President Trump and his administration, Kash Patel, they circumvent the system and use loopholes in order to remain blatantly ignorant and to keep the public in blatant ignorance. Okay? In blatant ignorance. Okay? So, blatant ignorance is not blind ignorance. They are polar opposites. Because when you know better, you do better. When you know better, you do better. Okay? Return to sender, all low vibrational monitoring spirits. When you know better, you do better. So, there's an accountability aspect of both of these, an accountability aspect. So when you have blind ignorance, you don't know any better. Until you touch the hot stove, you don't know that you can get burned. But once you learn that, ouch, that's hot, and I will get burned, and getting burned hurts. Once you learn that, what type of fool is it that continues to touch the hot stove? That's a blatant fool. Okay? That's a blatant fool who refuses to accept the truth of the situation. Okay? So there's an accountability aspect associated with both of these. Once you come into the knowledge of, then you are required to change your ways. Okay? Lord knows you got to change, baby. Okay? You got to change your evil ways. Change your evil ways. Okay? Yeah, they have to learn it, Jen. They have to learn it. Okay? They have to learn it. So when they ooh, ouch. Okay? So how does this apply to your life today as grown folk? You know what I'm saying? As mature physical beings. How does this apply today? When you know of and learn of someone who is low vibrational, that has done things to you that you do not approve of, and that you know has been done to hold you back in any sort of way or keep you stuck in any sort of way, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. When you learn of these things, then it would behoove you to remove these energies from your space, from your aura, okay, from contact with them. Because once divine source and your ancestors bring the demonic energy to the light, and you continue to coerce or interact with that demonic spirit, then you become accountable. And then you start dealing with karma. So that is the case for many. They refuse to release the energy. So the drug addict, they know the drugs aren't good for them. They go to interventions. Their family put them through interventions, but they continue to go back to the drugs, okay? It's sad, it's difficult, but you know what you need to do? You need to stop investing into that energy, and you need to let them go, because they refuse to walk away from the obvious. The obvious. They refuse to walk away from it, and that is the bridge between blatant ignorance and blind ignorance. And I should say that the other way around. That is the difference between blind ignorance and blatant ignorance. Okay? Is the acknowledgement. Is the acknowledgement. That is the bridge. Okay? So, once you come into the knowledge of, again, you need to leave that person. Stop putting them into interventions. They keep leaving the drug rehabilitation center. Okay? They won't attend whatever they're supposed to go to. They won't go see the doctor, even though you keep scheduling the meetings. They won't do those things. You need to remove that individual. And again, spiritually speaking, relationships of any sort, you realize your best friend, your girlfriend, okay, is now with your man or with your ex or whatever, you need to remove both of them. Both of them. One of the one of the interesting things, John. Okay, I have grace and mercy for you. I take it this is your first time here, but Jesus has never done a goddamn thing for you. Did you hear what I said, John? I said Jesus has never done a goddamn thing for you. Their name is Issa or Yeshua. There it is, Arabic. Issa is Isa, Arabic. Look it up. And again, right now, John, you just walked into some knowledge. So once you know John, you better do better, John, and stop calling them Jesus. They were not Spanish or Latin. They were born in the Middle East. So, John, now that you know that their name is not Jesus, their name is not Jesus, now that you know that, John, if you continue to call them Jesus, you will continue to reap whatever Jesus has done for you, which again is not a goddamn thing. So, you want to know why you're not blessed, John? You want to know why things move slow for you, John? You want to know why healing doesn't come to your bloodline? You want to know why you can't ascend out of the muck and mire, John? It's because you are recognizing some being called Jesus when their name is Issa, Arabic, or Yeshua, Aramaic, John. You have just recognized and been shown the bridge of acknowledgement. The bridge of acknowledgement between blind ignorance you didn't know in the past, bridge of acknowledgement, and now you are at the point of being blatantly ignorant if you choose to continue to call them Jesus, John. Thank you for being an example. Okay? So, yeah, all right. So, in your relationships, again, I was speaking about relationships. Your best friend took your man, your best friend took your woman, however it goes. Hello, Nello. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay. So, remove yourself. Your employer, they don't appreciate you, and they gave you 25-cent raise. When you were early, you put in overtime, they don't appreciate you. Start looking for another opportunity and be divinely guided to that next opportunity. Okay? You have gang stalkers in your neighborhood, you need to relocate. Be divinely guided. Okay? Because if you stay there, and divine source and your ancestors continue to reveal who the gang stalkers are, who the karmic family members are, who the karmic friends are, and you continue to associate with them, yeah, okay, then accountability. Then accountability. So, some people wonder why. Some people cry wolf when it's plainly obvious what they need to remove from them lives, but they cry wolf, okay, because they refuse to accept accountability for what is being shown to them. They deny the truth. Okay, they deny the truth. All right. So next we're going to move on, and feel free to ask your questions if you have any questions concerning your spiritual journey. And when I say that, that doesn't mean what's my journey about or what's my purpose. It's not my responsibility as a Master Builder 33. It's not my responsibility to know your purpose. That's not my job. Your job is to know your purpose. Again, my job is to help you turn on some lights so that you can see better. Turn on some lights. That's my responsibility. Okay? And to help you see things that are being shown to you, confirmations or what have you. But my job is not to sit here and be like, okay, John, this is your purpose. This is what you're supposed to be doing in life. This is where you're supposed to be going. This is what you're supposed to be doing. My job is not to read your Akashic records. Your job is to read your Akashic records. Your job is to read your Akashic records. So, for those of you who are watching oracles 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, okay, you probably need to slow that down and you need to go within. Okay, you need to slow that down and go within. Okay. So, yeah, but you can ask your spiritual questions about how do I remove this energy? How do I remove that? How do I ascend out of that? How do I turn this chakra on? How do I get rid of these types of chakra blockages? What about this? What is the Natus network? You can ask questions about those sorts of things. Okay? All right. So, next I want to speak about briefly about life portals, okay? Or the portals of life. The portals of life. As I was sitting out on the balcony this morning, it is 8:52 in the morning here in Ho Chi Minh City, 852, okay? 1952, someone could be 25, 852, August 25th, 852, could be something about 87, okay? 52, 80 is 7. All right, so it could be something about 1987 or 1978 that's relevant for your journey at this current time in this energy. And so sitting outside and enjoying my coffee this morning, the divine source started speaking to me about life portals, the life portals. Okay, so there are several life portals. We have eclipses. Eclipses, the confirmation. We have life portals. And these life portals, eclipses. Eclipses are life portals. You're welcome, Jimmy. It's not a show, okay? But thanks, Jimmy. All right. So, life portals, eclipses are life portals. Lunar eclipses, let me remind us, lunar eclipses are feminine, divine feminine eclipses. Lunar eclipses are divine feminine eclipses. I was birthed this lifetime on the 333rd day of the year during the last divine feminine eclipse of 1974. Okay? That is 11/29, 1974, during the last divine feminine eclipse of the year 1974. That is the year of 11, 11. 74 is 11. Pay attention, again, to the small things and the big things. You don't have to sweat the little things, but you should pay attention to those things. And so, and that's not a little thing, that's a synchronicity, and that's a big thing, but I'm using that as an example because most people don't even pay attention to the year they were born. Okay? What's your Chinese zodiac year that you were born? Oh, I don't know. What's that? You know, just they're spiritually unconscious. They're spiritually unaware until they are. All right? 1974 is the year of the wood tiger. Okay? It's often referred to just as plainly the year of the tiger, but 74 is the year of the wood tiger specifically. Okay? Know thyself. Know thyself. Inside, outside. Know thyself. Know your physical body. Pay attention to what's going on in your physical body. Know thyself. What's up? All right, all right, all right. Good to see you. Okay? Year of the rabbit. Somebody knows about themselves. Somebody knows about themselves. Okay? All right? Send great love to you. All right, all right, all right. Okay? I was going to say I love you. All right, all right, all right. That might be misunderstood by Some, right? That's what I was going to say. All right, all right, all right. That could be misunderstood by some. That is not a romantic thing. That is a high vibrational resonation. That is a high vibrational frequency. Okay? So if I tell someone I love them, that doesn't mean a romantic love. Okay? Especially on a live. Okay? That's not what that means. All right? It's an energetic and it's a frequency thing. So, yeah. All right? Don't be ignorant. Okay, we're talking about blind ignorance and blatant ignorance. Don't be ignorant. Okay. Okay. Sweet Gail. I'm not sure. Is that the water rabbit down there, Sweet Gail? Okay. I'm not sure what. I can't see that image clearly. That's what it looks like. I'm not sure if that's what that is. All right. Someone said 1970. Jan, 1970. Okay. So know thyself and all those little synchronicities about you. Okay? Physical body, spiritual body. Know thyself. Okay? Oh, water rat. Oh, okay. Water rat. Okay. All right. That speaks to resilience. Speaks to resilience. Speaks to resilience. I like the way the conversation's going in the room, in the living room. Okay, at the table. I like the way this conversation is going. I like the way this conversation is going. Mm, but you're on a journey. All right, all right, all right. You're on a journey. Okay? You're on a journey. Okay? I don't know all things about myself. Okay? All of my past lives. I know 3 or 4 past lives. Okay? But I don't know everything about my journeys here either, or journeys in general either, in this current state, in the 3D. I don't know. I haven't received all of those things. All right. I did. mm, I did have an esoteric travel. Little side note. I did have an esoteric travel recently where I was walking with Archangel Metatron. That is the keeper of the Akashic records. Okay. Enoch in the religious book. That is Archangel Metatron. All right. And Enoch and I, we were walking, and uh, or Archangel Metatron, and they took me to the place, wherever that esoteric ether place is, where all of the Akashic records were. And again, it's not my job to know your journey, okay? But we were walking down this aisle, okay? And on either side were these columns. And all of these columns had a book on it. All of these columns had a book on it. And there were endless columns that had a book on it. Okay. And we were just walking down the center of these aisles with these columns and Akashic records on all of these books. And it was literally like on a cloud. And we were walking, and I was just observing, looking around. And one thing that was shown to me was that where there were gaps, okay, because they were fairly close together. Okay, if you think about a cemetery, and when you go to a cemetery, you see all the plots. When you go to Arlington Cemetery, you see all the plots, and they're fairly close together. You know what I mean? They're not 50 feet apart. They're probably 10 feet apart, 12 feet apart, or something like that. Maybe that's something we should look up. But you see all the headstones, right? Like in Arlington National Cemetery in the United States. And so I'm looking at all of these Akashic records, and there were gaps in some of these places. And I was shown that in some of where the gaps were, these were beings that did not make it. They were given a certain amount of time, but once they went from blind ignorance and they were shown wisdom, that's the bridge, okay? enlightenment. That's the bridge. And then they continued on and refused to acknowledge what was being known to them. Then they continued in blatant ignorance. And for them, when grace and mercy fell out for them, that is what those gaps were. That is what those gaps were. Okay? You could be experiencing esoteric travels during your meditations, during your dreams. You could be physically experiencing, spiritually experiencing these esoteric travels. Okay? We have 9 in the room and 11. Okay? 9, 11, 9, 11. Oh, and it's 9:01. And it's 9:01 here in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam on Saturday morning. 9 in the room and 11 likes. Thank you for the love. And it's 9:01. 9:01. Interesting. Okay? There has to be some type of blockages that's going on right now. We are in a Mercury retrograde. Divine Source is reminding me of that right now. So that could be what it is. We are in a Mercury retrograde right now. Right now. Okay? That is interesting. That is interesting. 9/11 means we skipped the 10. Okay, we skipped God. Divine Source is physically in the 10th heaven. That is where Divine Source sits. That is where Aravat, Aravat, look it up, Aravat, that's where they sit. Okay, that is where their throne is. Aravat. Okay. Also, 9/11 is Taraji P. Henson's birth date this lifetime. That celebrity, Taraji P. Henson. Empire. What else has Taraji? I don't know what else she's been on. That stands out. Okay. I don't know what else she's been on. She's been on many things, right? I just don't recall them because I have to use the brain for those things. Okay. But yeah, okay. Someone's name could be Henson. Okay. Henson. Henson. Boy. Yeah, Baby Boy. That was a funny movie. Funny movie. Baby Boy. Okay. So I spoke the portal, okay? And now we just doubled the amount of people in the room. So again, right? Mercury retrograde. We're going to get back to the life portals here in a moment. Someone said, what's going on with the 369 numerology? If you're saying 369 frequency or 369 angel number, okay, then your ancestors have a message for you, okay? And that is a message of alignment, hussy. If you're saying 369 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day, then your angels have an alignment message for you. So in those moments, you might want to silence yourself, hussy. Okay? Take a moment. If you are not driving or doing something that is dangerous, where you cannot close your eyes, you might want to, hussy, you might want to close your eyes for a moment when you see 369 and just receive, tap in. Okay? You might want to do that. Okay? You might want to do that. Okay? That is divine alignment. 369. 369 is divine alignment. Okay? All right. So these life portals, I mentioned eclipses. Lunar eclipses are divine feminine energy. So solar eclipses are divine masculine energies. Divine masculine energy. Someone mentioned they were born in 1970 this lifetime around. Find out if you were born during a lunar or solar eclipse. Okay? Find out if you were born during a lunar or solar eclipse. That's significant for you. being born during a divine masculine eclipse or a divine feminine eclipse. That's significant for all of our journeys to find out. Hello, Decree. Good to see you. Okay. Also Hustle and Flow, Taraji P. Henson, Hustle and Flow, also Baby Boy, Empire, now Hustle and Flow. Divine just brought that to me. Hustle and Flow with Terrence Howard, the name Terry, Terrence Howard, Hustle and Flow. Someone's name could be Flo, Florence, Hustle and Flow. Someone could be in Florence, South Carolina, Hustle and Flow, or Florence somewhere else. Florence, Italy. Is there a Florence, Italy? I think there's a Florence, Italy. I'm just getting that. Again, I'm not a geographical master. Right? Hustle and Flow. Hello, Christine. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always. Okay? Thank you so much for your faithfulness, Christine. All right? Divine is having me dote on some of you. Okay? He told me to tell a divine being in this energy, in this collective today, that I love them. Okay? And again, that's not a romantic thing. Okay? Don't start sending me love letters. That's not a romantic thing. Okay? That's an energetic thing. But Divine Source, in addition to what I'm doing, what I'm sharing, Divine Source is also having me dote on, and that means they are doting on you. All right? So send you great love, Christine. Okay? For your faithfulness. You are one of the most faithful. All right? You are one of the most faithful. So thank you so much. Okay? Always being ready. Okay? Always being ready. Hungry. Staying hungry. Okay? One of my great attributes is spiritually, I'm always hungry. Always staying hungry. Always digging in. Always for the more. Unrelenting. Unrelenting. Unrelenting in my pursuit of the full gospel. That is the truth. That is not religion. The full gospel. God's spell. Okay? God's spell in pursuit of the full gospel. Okay? For those of you who are interested, on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., we share the Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua. That is the current canonical text that we are sharing at this time. Yeshua has just returned home. He is about 24, 26. He has just returned home from his 12-year journey, meeting with Vedic priests, meeting with Brahm priests, meeting with Assyrian priests, meeting with Greek priests and sages, learning and teaching for 12 years. He has just returned home in that Aquarian Gospel of Yeshua the Christ. 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Sunday mornings. So, in 24 hours, okay? Well, not 24 hours. In 36 hours, we'll be there. 36 hours, we'll be there. Okay? Approximately. Okay? So, yeah. And again, that's Eastern Standard Time. So according to Florida, 10 a.m. According to New Hampshire, 10 a.m. Rhode Island, 10 a.m. New York, 10 a.m. Okay? And so West Virginia, 10 a.m. Shout out to West Virginia again. Okay? So Virginia at 10 a.m. Sunday morning, your time, 10 a.m. And so what's another, in addition to solar eclipses, lunar eclipses, masculine, feminine eclipses, equinoxes, okay? Ooh, that's a good question, and I have an answer, or at least a part of an answer. Okay, again, I don't claim to know all things. I am here learning in the 3D on my final dissension here. I am here learning just like you are. Right. So I do have an answer, okay, or some type of help for that question, Christine, and that's a very good one. As always, again, show up hungry. Show up hungry. When you arrive at the spiritual table that's been prepared for you, that is every day. That is every day. When you arrive, wake up hungry. Divine Source, What do you have for me today? Ancestors, what do you have for me today? Wake up hungry. Wake up hungry for it. Okay? Wake up hungry for it. All right? And so equinoxes are life portals. Also, Mercury retrogrades are life portals. Life portals. Mercury retrogrades. We are currently in a Mercury retrograde, the first one for the year of 10, the year of the horse. Okay? The year of the horse. You are being required or being asked, required, to be strong at this time and yet docile, yet gentle. A horse is strong and yet gentle. A balance of your masculine and feminine energy. I had an esoteric conversation with someone recently, and that was one of their acknowledgments for their own journey. And I was going to say it, but I didn't need to. Divine Source, throughout the entire meeting, our esoteric conversation, Divine Source kept saying, okay, speaking to their masculine energy and saying, you know, they need to tame that and they need to be a little more divine feminine energy balance. Okay, so horse, gentle yet strong. Gentle yet strong. Show up hungry every day. Show up hungry every day. Show up hungry. Yeah. All right. It's going to do the spiritual body good. Okay. So these portals are opportunities, and I'm going to read something and then we get to Christine's question. Okay. So let's take a look at, or let me read something here, okay, in regards to these life portals. Okay. Spiritual life portals are an energetic window where the veil between the material and the spiritual dimensions thin, allowing for heightened consciousness, healing, and manifestation, often linked to celestial events like eclipses and equinoxes. Okay? I've mentioned these life portals: solar, feminine, representing new beginnings; lunar, the releasing of the past; and divine masculine eclipses; equinoxes, balances and renewals; equinoxes. I need to look up, I don't know, next equinox. I need to look that up. All right. And are considered significant high energy portals that influence personal evolution. Okay. These magnetic points, magnetic points or moments where the illusion of separation is removed. Again, the veil thinning during Mercury retrogrades, the veil thinning during eclipses, thinning. Okay. Also, during these eclipses, what happens to Ra and what happens to Hansu? That is the sun and the moon. My nose is itching like crazy for confirmation. Okay. So what happens during eclipses with Ra and Hansu, the sun and the moon? They go closer together, thinning the veil in the sky. Thinning, talk to me, Divine Source. Talk to me, baby. Talk to me, baby. Talk to me. Thinning the veil in the sky, bridging together, bringing together. So the veil is this wide outside of eclipses. They come together, and the veil between them, the sky between them, is made thinner to the point when you're dealing with a full eclipse, lunar or solar, okay, where there is no veil. One is on top of the other. Masculine energy and feminine energy. Divine Source, you teach me something. You teach me something. Eravat, you teach me something. Even as I sit here speaking to you, collective, teach me something, Divine Source. Teach me. Okay? where the illusion of separation is removed, allowing for profound spiritual connection. Okay, profound spiritual connection. These windows or portals are recognized as moments when frequencies rise, making it an optimal time for aligning. Someone asked about the 369 numerology, for aligning. So this Mercury retrograde deals with past energy. That's what Mercury retrogrades are. Okay, for the releasing of, the forgiving of past energy, past situations, for the letting go of the past. That's what retro is, going back. Okay, and releasing whatever it was that you allowed to attach to you, whatever it is you need to forgive. That could be yourself, that could be some other being. Okay, making the optimal times for aligning with your life purpose. mm, 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 mm. Hello, Trinity. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, Christine, ask a question. Okay? Do we know when we are about to leave the 3D? Christine, so before I answer that, let me ask you this. Are you speaking of in the physical, like end of life type of thing in the 3D? Or are you speaking of getting out of the matrix? Which do you speak of? I think you're speaking about the physical leaving of this place. Okay? The physical leaving of this place. Okay? So I'm going to answer this by telling a story. Okay, and this story is about Linda. In the last 48 hours, I've seen two movies. One is entitled Linda. Both are based on a true story. I most often watch movies based on true stories because I am just crazily intrigued about man's choices, and man being unisex, women and men, females, beings, children. I'm amazed at human choices, amazed and inquisitive about the human choice. Okay? Amazed. And so I like watching things based on true stories. I've seen two movies in the last 48 hours in which the main character's name is Linda. Linda, and these are both based on true stories. One was based in Texas, dealing with a husband who was physically, verbally, emotionally, and mentally abusive to his wife. And he hired someone to kill her, to murder her. This happened in Texas. True story. His name is Edelman. Edelman. Okay? He served a 10-year sentence and was released in 1993. You can look it up. It's on YouTube. Okay? Or you can look it up, find the story. Okay? The other happened in Illinois. And the name of this movie is Linda. And in that movie, Linda decided that she was going to set her husband up. They met this couple when they had just moved into this new neighborhood. Okay? Peace, love, and light, Jen. Sleep well. Okay? Sleep well, Jen. Okay? Hello, Nettie. All right? So, Linda, in this true story, movie, documentary, Linda in Illinois, this other movie that I watched recently, she and her husband moved into this neighborhood and befriended this couple. This couple then took them on a vacation. Or no, Linda and her husband were already in the neighborhood. This other couple moved into the neighborhood. Linda then conspired with the other woman's husband to have an affair with him and to set him up. So they went on this vacation, and Linda murdered this woman, shot this woman. Hello, Laura, thank you so much for tuning in. She shot and killed this woman on this vacation on a beach. Okay, again, everything that I speak, significant for someone. And Linda then created this elaborate cover-up with the murdered woman's husband to take money, okay, from her, because she knew that this woman had a large amount of money because her family was wealthy. They shared this again. They became best friends. Every Saturday evening, they would come over, share wine, conversation, whatever with them. Okay? And so Linda ended up trying to frame her husband for the murder, frame her own husband for the murder of her neighbor's wife that she actually murdered in plain daylight. All four of them were there. She pulled up, she walked up with a shotgun, bang, 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 okay, right into this lady's physical body in this true story based in Illinois. Ultimately, he had to prove he did get incarcerated, her husband, okay, because she was framing him. Ultimately, he did get incarcerated for the murder for a time, but he ended up getting evidence, and he actually ended up breaking out of jail for a period of time to get a secret recording of Linda and this murdered woman's husband having a conversation about, shh, don't talk, don't tell him anything. I think the house is bugged. If you don't say anything, blah, blah, right? So he ended up getting all of this incriminating evidence recorded, okay? And that is how he was able to free himself. Both of those involving a Linda were based on a true story. In one of those situations, Linda was the innocent party. In one of those situations, Linda was the karmic low vibrational murderer. Okay? Real life stories, one in Texas, one in Illinois, in the United States of America. Something about Texas, something about Illinois. So, to answer your question, Christine, now I'm saying Linda, to answer your question, Christine, so I knew of a Linda in 2009 who was dealing with cancer. And this Linda, also there's a Russell that I know about as well, who passed in 2016 from this physical earth from brain cancer. Linda passed in 2009 from cancer. All diseases are karmic of some sort. All diseases are karmic because of self-choices or because of dark forces. Self-choices or dark forces. Okay? And this Linda decided that she was going to be the martyr for her bloodline concerning cancer. Cancer had taken the lives of many of her family, okay? And she was 61 when she passed. 16 or 61, 1961, at the age of 16, sweet 16, what have you. 16, 61. You could be 61. And in 2009, Linda ascended out of this place. Linda knew that she was leaving. Okay? We all had hopes that Linda was going to be healed, but Linda was ready to go. Also, Russell, okay, the name Russell. Okay? And so I know Russell, very close to Russell. Okay? I helped him put pavers in at his house, at his pool, him and his wife and I, and the spiritual being whose physical name is Stephen Lee Parker that I was guided to. That is a same gender soulmate again, okay? Because we are connected to, or for a time, guided to those who are both same gender and opposite gender here in the 3D, because you can only be one or the other generally, right? But yeah, that was a non-romantic soulmate, okay? A non-romantic soulmate who chose not to ascend, not to awaken. And yeah, so very close to Russell. In fact, his wife, Kathy, got me my first job out of the military. She got me my first job out of the military. Okay, I was a purchasing agent for a chemical distribution company. Okay. And Russell knew that he was going. Also, Barbara, Barbara, the name Barbara. Again, Cancer, Barbara. So I do believe that there are certain beings who have the spiritual knowledge or spiritual wherewithal, awareness, that's the word, awareness, Christine, to know when it's time. Okay? And they know before they're on their deathbed. They know when it's time. I do believe that. Not all, but I believe some. They do know. They do know. Okay? And I think it's just it's just an acknowledgement. I know it's time for me. However old they were, Russell was the age I am today. Russell was the age I am today in 2016, 10 years ago. 10 years ago for you, where were you? Okay? Something about 2016. Okay? He was the age I am today. All right? And yeah. So I was 41. He was 51. And then when Linda passed, she was 61. Those are 10 years apart. 41 to 51 to 61. 41 to 51 to 61. Could be something about 20 years. Okay? Collectively, together, three different beings, 10 years, 41, 51, and 61. Okay? Yes, of course. And again, to me, that is just that's really a partial answer. I'm not sure how the path to someone becoming aware of that other than acceptance. Okay, I'm not fighting this. I'm going to be the martyr for my bloodline so that cancer, like Linda said in 2009, cancer will not touch. She passed on Mother's Day weekend. She ascended Mother's Day weekend of 2009. She specifically said, okay, that she was volunteering. I'll be the martyr this lifetime around for my bloodline so that cancer does not touch my bloodline any longer. She was willing to be the martyr. She was willing to. Okay? And she actually traveled to Mexico for an experimental treatment and ended up passing in Mexico, from what I understand. Mexico. And I say from what I understand because that's what we were told. Whether or not that's the truth, okay, I have my suspicions. Okay? Ashe, only one. Okay? Ashe. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay? So, Divine Source is talking to me about blatant ignorance and blind ignorance. Okay? And the bridge between those is acknowledgement or wisdom. Blatant ignorance and blind ignorance. The bridge is acknowledgement. Once you come into the knowledge of and you continue to refuse to change, then that is blatant ignorance. So, those who know that it's time for them to ascend, time to release old friends, old habits, old patterns, whatever that happens to be, walk away from religion, that's a big one. To walk away from religion, okay? Those who refuse to acknowledge those things, then they go into blatant ignorance and accountability. Because after blatant ignorance, after the truth shows up, after wisdom shows up, then you're accountable. You're accountable. So, yeah. Okay. Divine Source, what would you like to do? And again, I had a Reiki healing session scheduled. Okay. So Divine Source was like, no, you need to go live. Somehow, the individual who I had that Reiki healing session scheduled for, it's a bi-weekly Reiki healing session. All right. You could be interested in that. If you are, we do those via Zoom. Confirmation horn honk. We do those via Zoom. Okay. Bi-weekly Reiki healing and meditation ceremonies, or I said ceremonies, okay, or sessions. Those are done via Zoom. if you are interested in those, okay, a monthly introductory price for bi-weekly sessions is $100. Okay, you get 1 hour each session. I spend 1 hour with you, you spend 1 hour with me, clearing out chakras, focusing on raising vibrations, okay? And it is obviously a divinely guided session, but it is ethereal, and I'm getting the name ethereal. Thank you so much for tuning in, Lakeisha. Okay, always good to see you. All right, and so yeah, if you are interested in those, nerupata@gmail.com. I would like to offer things for free, but there are plenty of dumbass karmics out there who would love nothing more than to waste my time and schedule events and things with me and time with me and have me sitting there on the Zoom and not show up. Okay? That is not the reason why that being didn't show up. Their son had a procedure. Okay? And so they could have gotten sidetracked again. I wish them well, whatever that is. Okay? Whatever sidetracked them. It's divine guidance. So delays, changes in schedule, be open to those things. Okay? Also, same thing with esoteric conversations. If you would like a private conversation with me, you can schedule that. Send an email, NEHRUPTAH, maybe I should say that slower, NEHRUPTAH .com. All right. If you would like to schedule a Reiki healing session, meditation session, okay, or have an esoteric conversation. During the esoteric conversations, we do pull energy for the current situation, moment, what have you. During the Reiki healing sessions, we do not pull energy. We focus on your Reiki healing journey and meditations. I do have a Reiki Master Healing certification. That is just a piece of paper. I've healed myself of many things, okay, along my physical journey. This body has been healed many times over, okay? In the 3D, this body has been healed of seizures. This body has been healed of being attempted to be choked out at birth through the umbilical cord, being wrapped around the throat at birth on 11/29, the 333rd day of the year, during that last divine feminine lunar eclipse of 1974. I don't say shit just to say shit. Okay? Divine Source, what would you like to do at this time? Okay, again, questions. Feel free to ask. What would you like to do at this time, Divine Source? Okay. I don't know. Okay? This could be it. Maybe that's it for today. It's 9:33. It was 9:33 when I looked at the clock. 9:33. Shout out to the 369. 9:33. Shout out to the 369. Yeah. Confirmations, Mellow. Confirmations, Mellow. Okay? Confirmations. Yeah. We have the ability. We have the ability. Also, let me remind us that Gaia provides or can provide everything to heal the body. Okay? You don't need man to manufacture you anything. Gaia, this is not medical advice, this is spiritual advice. Gaia can provide everything for the human body, for the physical 3D body to heal itself. Gaia, G-A-I-A, that is one of the primordial energies or beings, is Gaia. The earth, the land, Gaia, was before you were here, Gaia. That is one of the primordial energy forces, Gaia, Mother Earth. Okay? I see 21 in the room and 20 likes, 21 in the room and 20 likes. Thank you so much for the love, everyone. Maturity 21, 777. Maturity 21. There is a divine being that is a part of this collective that was birthed on 321. 321. 777. Mm. Interesting, Christine. Okay. And here you are, just as big, bright, shiny, and fluffy as ever. And here you are, just as big, bright, shiny, and fluffy as ever. Hmm. So, it's possible. Yeah, possible. I remember the very first time I grew up in the projects when I lived with Judy. Okay, the projects. I lived with the project in the projects. I lived with the projects. I lived in the projects as a youngster. Okay, with Judy before moving with Kevin when I was 11. All right, and but I remember I did not recall during that time seeing like crack babies and that sort of thing. I'm sure they existed because crack was booming in the 80s. Okay, that was the thing in the 80s. Okay, crack cocaine, that was the thing in the 80s. New Jack City, okay, that epidemic, just like fentanyl epidemic, just like opioids, just like ecstasy, all of these epidemics. Yeah, 80s. It was crack cocaine. And but I remember the very first time I ever saw the crack baby. I remember the very first time, and I was actually living in Orlando, Florida, and I was going to see an apartment, or in Central Florida, and I was going to see an apartment, and I pulled up to this apartment complex, and this woman came outside, and I was turning around, making a U-turn. I was waiting there for the agent to show up, and then so that I could get access to wherever I was going because it was a gate or something like that, and and I remember, um, yeah, confirmation. All right, all right, all right, and I remember just sitting there in the car, and this woman came out of the house, and she goes out and gets ready to get into this car, and she tells this kid to go back into the house. And when I saw this kid, I've never had, like, that was the first time. Let me not say I never had. This is the very first time when I remember it was so clear that their mother was taking something when they were pregnant, and divine source pointed out to me that was a crack baby. Okay, that was, yeah. And I mean, she was telling the child to go back in the house, and so it was interesting because their physical features looked like a much older being. Okay, but they were, I don't know, 4.5 feet tall maybe, you know. And so very, very interesting. And that spirit, I will never, ever, ever forget that. How that spirit just called out to me. How that spirit just called out to me for for them, and for what they were birthed into, and for how their mother disregarded them when they were in the womb. It just cried out to me heavily. I'll never forget that feeling. I'll never forget that. So, yeah. Hmm. Yeah. All right. Any other questions on 9:39 time? Any other questions? Let's go ahead and check out an Egyptian deity or two. Let's see who's in the mix at this time. Let's see who's in the mix. Divine source, Egyptian deities, Ptah, Sekhmet, Mut, Maat, Mertziger. Any of you, Horus? We have Seth, for resentment. We have Seth, the number 8, for resentment. Okay? Again, Mercury retrogrades are for forgiving the past. Okay? Correcting the past in some cases. This could require an apology. An apology. This could require an apology. Resentment, the number 8. Seth. Seth, the number 8. Seth. the number 8, Seth energy. So take advantage of this Mercury retrograde. I believe it ends on 320 or 320. It started on 226. I believe it ends on 320. That is the last day of winter. That is the last day of winter. That is also a seasonal change, a change. Okay? Sam Cooke, okay? I was born by the river in a little tent. Whoa, just like a river I've been running ever since. It's been a long, yeah, a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. When does the current Mercury retrograde end? 3/20/26. 3/20/26. Last day of winter. 3/20/26. 3/20/26. 3/20/26. Yeah, Christine. Yeah. Ask the right questions, sugar. Ask the right questions, Christine. Ask the right questions. Why are we required to forgive? Why are we required to forgive? Oh, yes, it will. All right, all right, all right. Oh, yes, it will. So, Christine, why are we required to forgive? Because it clears our pathway. It clears our pathway. Okay? Wrath is one of the 7 deadly sins. And if you have wrath against someone, hatred against someone, one of the things that blocks chakra energy is hatred. So, you are required to forgive them, for they know not what they do, even if you know that they knew what they were doing. Okay? That dream I shared yesterday about Kevin and them throwing a getting the hell out of Dodge party for me. Okay? Hilarious dream. For those of you who did not listen to that live, it's worth it to just go back and find wherever I start telling that dream in that live. It's worth it. Okay? To go back and listen to that dream. So, forgiveness. I shook that warlock's hand who I helped put in jail in 2014, serving 40 to 60 years in a Michigan prison. I helped put them there. I was a witness against him on the prosecution team. I was a witness against him. That's the man who I grew up thinking was my daddy, but he ain't. Okay? He stole me from somebody. Listen to me. He stole me from somebody. Okay? And so I went over during that celebration. They threw a celebration. Again, I call it a getting the hell out of Dodge party. Okay? So they threw this celebration for me in this dream. And yes, the mayonnaise, yeah, there you go. Christine was there, okay? Christine was there, all right? And so I shook his hand. There was no anger. There was no anything within me. I simply shook his hand. I said, thank you for giving me all that you gave me, both karmic, because it helped me. And whatever good times, thank you for taking me to see Michael Jordan play 1988 or 1989. I got to see Michael Jordan play live. And then I went on to serve in the United States Army. And my first 2 years of duty at Fort Bragg, his eldest brother, James Jordan Jr., was my first sergeant. So I got to see the GOAT play in his prime. And I served in the United States Army with his eldest brother, James Jordan Jr. Divinely led, spirit guided. Divinely led, spirit guided. That doesn't mean I did everything correct, because I made some dumbass karmic choices that I've had to forgive myself for. But forgiveness, I shook his hand. In that dream, I shook Kevin's hand, who's been doing witchcraft against me since conception. That's why, in part, this physical body was birthed with the umbilical cord wrapped around the neck. That's why, in part, that was done because he was doing witchcraft against me. And he was a teenager back then. He was 17 years old. Okay? 17 years old. All right? And so I shook his hand, thanked him for all that he had given to me. Okay? He was a funny guy, you know? He had a great sense of humor, comedic, okay? But demonic. Okay? And so I let him go a long time ago. Also, I had a dream where I physically let him go. This is years ago. Okay? We were we had traveled to, all of us in one vehicle, we had traveled to a car garage. Divine Source has been showing me shit since I was a child. I had dreams when I was a child, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, 14 years old. And him and I, we would be fighting, okay? And I'd be beating his ass. And in this dream, as a child, I would be having these dreams. And I would wake up and I'd be apologizing, okay? He was a religious minister. And I'd be apologizing. God, please forgive me. Lord, please forgive me. I love my daddy because I thought he was. But he wasn't. And he isn't. Okay? And he never was. All right? But Divine Source was showing me, even as a child, and even in my physical immaturity, okay? Or adolescence, I should say, and in my spiritual. Divine Source was showing me as a child. This being means you no good, and they will be against you your entire life. They will come against you your entire life. Ouija boards, black magic, moon magic, seances, they will be against you your entire life. So you may be physically 9 years old today, child of mine, but I'm showing you what is really going on. I'm showing you today, even in your adolescence, the spiritual battle, because we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Ephesians 6 and 22. Divine Source was showing me from a long time ago. From a long time ago, Divine Source was showing me. So Christine, forgiveness is for you, so that you can clear the path, so that you can walk forward with no more hatred, so that you can love again genuinely. Because there are genuine beings, there are divine beings that will come cross your path and whose paths you will cross. And you need to be able to heal them. You need to be able to speak truth to them, to help them heal and to help them on their journey. Yeah. That's why we need to forgive, as difficult as it is. He took my first wife while I was serving our country in Bad Kreuznach. Somebody in this energy said they are in Cologne, Germany. I served in Bad Kreuznach, or in the military, for 2 years in Germany. While I was in Germany, he took my first wife. Ongoing battle the entire life. Ongoing battle. Ongoing battle the entire life. The entire life. Ongoing battle. Divine Source was showing me as a child. Showing me as a child. This is what you're up against. And it's not a physical battle. It's not. It's a spiritual one. Confirmation, Nello. Okay. Outstanding question, Christine. Outstanding question as usual. Again, you show up hungry. Okay? You show up hungry. Every time. Every time. All right? I can't express enough how appreciative I am of that. You're welcome, of course. Okay? I am grateful for you. Grateful for so many of you, okay, that tune in on the regular basis. You show up hungry. You show up ready to hear, ready to share, ready to learn, ready to show me, okay, mention things to me, whatever that is. Hey, take a look at this. Have you looked this up? Have you done this? Okay, have you seen that? Have you heard about this? You all show up. And thank you so much for your eagerness. Thank you so much for your hunger. Okay. Hello, Wanda. All right. So we have Seth out here. Okay. For resentment, Christine. Mercury retrogrades are an opportunity to let go of it. Mercury retrogrades are an opportunity to let go of resentment. So let's do it so we can be a better you. Let's do it so we can be a better you. I have my journal open here, and I'm looking at something that says, do not be afraid of, it's someone's picture, actually, image, the reason why I have it open. And they have been here looking upon my journey for the last few days. I opened up my journal to this page, and so I have their image. They ascended in December of 2017, but I have their picture here, again, that I stapled here, okay, in one of these journals. And so I have written here on the other page of this journal, it says, do not be ashamed of the favor of Yahweh God in my life. Do not be afraid of the favor that divine source has placed upon your life. All those synchronicities, divine showing you, okay, revealing to you that your mother was a heroin addict, or your father was physically abusive, your father touched you inappropriately, whatever it happens to be, do not be ashamed of your journey. Heal yourself, okay? And then you can go on to heal the world. Okay? Heal yourself. Next says, from this journal, it says, he favors us, okay, because the woodpeckers are coming. You could be seeing woodpeckers, okay? He favors us because the woodpeckers are coming. What do the woodpeckers do? The woodpeckers get down to the core of things, okay? They drill on the tree. Drilling down, woodpeckers get to the core of the issue, okay? Get to the core of the issue, woodpeckers. It says, release favor given to me upon others. Release favor given to me upon others. So divine source has shown me how to heal myself, okay, physically and spiritually, and I now share that with the world, okay? I now share that with whosoever will. Divine source has shown me how to heal physically and spiritually, and I share that with the world, okay? I have mind change written here. I wrote these things down on 2/5/17. 2/5/17, I wrote these things down. February 5th. I have mind change equals choice change. That's a confirmation. We're going to take a look at Philippians 4:8. I have that written down here. Mind change equals choice change. That goes right back to what the beginning of this live was about, and that is blind ignorance when you do not know better, and blatant ignorance when you do, but you refuse to do better. Okay? Not knowing to do better is blind ignorance. Blatant ignorance is knowing when to do better and not. The bridge is acknowledgement. The bridge is acknowledgement, okay? Or wisdom. When the wisdom comes, then you become accountable. Okay? So let's take a look at Philippians 4:8. Okay, again, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And I think we're going to close it out. Philippians 4:8. Okay, so let's take a look. Philippians 4:8, we're going to read the scripture. Confirmation. Philippians 4:8 instructs believers to focus their minds on things that are true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, and praiseworthy. Okay? Christine, is holding a grudge, and again, I understand anger. I was there. Trust me. And I express that physically. I express that verbally. If you go to Esoteric Guidance, Extraterrestrial Earth Angel, you will find videos on that channel of the 800 and something videos of that shadow band channel. I am cussing out that karmic partner, fallen twin, whatever she was. I am cussing her ass out from here to Sunday and back to Monday. I'm cussing her ass out like Steve, okay, senior minister at the Rock of Central Florida. I am laying into his ass, telling him how he's a sorry ass motherfucker. He went AWOL in the United States Army. I served 8 honorable years. Okay, that is a vast difference between both of those soldiers, both of those warrior energies. A vast difference. I'm laying into his ass. But I had to release that because I had to realize, Christine and others, although those things were true, the anger was not noble, it was not right, it was not pure, it was not lovely, it was not admirable, it was not of excellence, okay? And it was not praiseworthy. So I had to forgive, okay? I had to forgive, okay? So let's go ahead and read Philippians 8. Finally, brothers and sisters, finally, soul members, okay? Soul tribe, finally, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Think about such things. Okay? So, yeah, that is where we are. Okay, that is where we are. All right. So thank you so much as always for tuning in. I see that we are closing out with 15 in the room and 24 likes. 15 in the room and 24 likes. Okay. Thank you, Angel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for the regulars. Thank you so much for the new subscribers. Okay. Again, my email address is NEHRUPTAH, sassafras. We're closing it out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Nehru Patah, NEHRUPTAH. If you would like to correspond with me in that way. Again, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Nehru. I am a spiritual guide, Gaia Beacon here for the 10th and final descension into this place. As a light, as a guide, I am a Master Builder 33. That is my divine purpose on this planet, to help awaken, to help ascend, to help us become aware of who we are truly. We are spiritual beings having another human experience. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. Thank you so much as always for tuning in, and be encouraged.